I got a couple of new Convoy lights recently, a couple of little pocket throwers. This is the Convoy M2, and on the right here, I've got the Convoy M21B. So I'm just going to go talk about both of these lights, what you get out of each of them, and my overall sort of thoughts. And hopefully this video will help you decide which one of these is right for you if you decide to get a little pocket thrower. So with all Convoy lights, you don't get a whole lot inside the package. You just get what you need. And I was actually surprised these came with the lanyards attached to them. I got a battery with the M21B, but you need to select that option if you want a battery. It costs a few extra dollars. I think it's worth it if you don't have a 21700 cell battery. The M2 didn't come with the 18650 cell, and there wasn't an option to get one as well, so I've just used one of my own 18650s. The clip as well didn't come with the M21B, but the M2 does come with its own little clip there, and I do like the inclusion of this stainless steel bezel. So that's not too common. I think with a lot of Convoy flashlights, they just don't come with the pocket clip there. So yeah, something to keep in mind, and you're going to need your own battery charger as well. So looking at the design and build quality, I mean, I'm always really impressed with what Convoy managed to do at such a low price point. The anodization on both of these flashlights is just flawless. Even the machining, I can't see any nicks or any odd artifacts or defects in the flashlight at all, and that goes for all, taking it apart as well, looking inside, underneath, for example, underneath the head. I mean, it's very clean construction, and even the soldering there. It's got a kind of matte black anodizing, and it is a smooth sort of anodizing as well. I mean, it's not as smooth as some of the other flashlights that I've seen, which, yeah, just kind of, especially that silvery kind of anodization that makes it slippery. But this one especially is a little more slippery. The M21B has some knurling, which makes it, yeah, a little bit more grippy. Both of these flashlights are able to be disassembled, so basically you can take apart their heads and even get into the LEDs themselves very, very easily. Here you just unscrew the head and you can pop out the reflector, access the PCB and the LED very easily as well. This one here, you just got to take out the bezel and tip out the reflector, and you can access the LED in the exact same way. And I think this is important for those of you who like modifying your flashlights, doing your own service on them, especially if one day you want to change the LED if something better comes out, or swap the driver around as well. These are very easily modded, and even the tail caps as well, you get into them easily. So the reason why the M21B is a little bit larger is that it uses a 21700 cell. The M2 uses an 18650 cell, and that's going to be a little bit easier to put into your pocket compared to the M21B for those of you who are looking to carry it around on a daily basis. So again, there's no onboard charging on each. You're going to need to take that battery out and add it to your own charger. In terms of the size comparison here, they're roughly about the same length. The M21B is a little bit larger. Reflector size is also a bit larger. You've got 27mm reflector versus a 25mm reflector here on the left. I think they both are about the same depth in terms of they go mostly into the head around that. So they're fairly deep reflectors, which I think is important as well. That increases the throw of these lights, in relation to how small they are. Both of these flashlights come with the PM1 emitter. So the CUL PM1 emitter, it's a 4040 footprint LED, which means basically that white bit surrounding the yellow phosphor of the LED is 4mm squared. That allows better contact and better surface area for heat transfer to the PCB. So it means that you can drive this light a little bit harder, and it has better heat dissipation. Both come with anti-reflective glass on the heads as well. I do find this one's a bit interesting because the glass contacts directly with the stainless steel bezel. I think if you put, because of the bezel is so thin, if you put that O-ring underneath the bezel, it's just going to come out and get wonky. So the O-ring is actually underneath the glass. I've screwed this on pretty tight and there's no issues, nothing's cracked or anything like that. This one here, it's actually built in. You've got to unscrew the entire head and the glass is directly underneath. So I think the M21B would probably be more waterproof compared to the M2 just due to that reason. And yeah, like I mentioned, the reflector is a little bit bigger on the M21B. So you're going to get slightly better throw figures for that light as well. So the UI modes they come with the same sort of 12 mode selection driver. So what that means is that you can select from a group of 12 modes. I've got both of these on a low, medium, high selection at the moment. So 1%, 1%, 20%, and 100%. Okay, and they both have mode memory as well to remember the last mode, which I think is important. You can also select other mode groupings. So if you want it to have a strobe in there or the bike flashing mode as well, you can select groupings that have that programmed in. You can even choose a mode that has 100%. You can also select groupings that have lower modes built into them as well. So for example, 0.1, 1, and 20%, I think that is, and 35%. So a few different options there for those of you who are using the flashlight for different purposes. I did a quick ceiling bounce test on both of these flashlights, and the M21B is a little bit brighter. It produces another 20 to 30 lux compared to the M2, but you got to remember that this is driven at 8 amps and this one's driven at 5 amps. And for the extra 3 amp difference, I really question whether it's worth driving that LED at such a high current. If you really want to make sure you squeeze out the maximum lumens and capacity out of this emitter, this PM1 emitter, then I'd go for this one because it definitely throws a bit further. Comparing the throw figures with my Opal Lightmaster Pro, get 656 meters of throw with the M2 and 728 meters with the M21B. And that's probably just a combination of the LED being driven harder, the larger reflector. A few considerations to keep in mind. Now, the M2, I think, has better temperature regulation. Firstly, the LED is driven at 5 amps. And doing the ceiling bounce test as well, it ramped down quickly to 45% at 2 minutes 45. So at that point, the flashlight was pretty hot, but still okay to hold. Now, when I did the ceiling bounce test with the M21B, what I found was that the flashlight slowly ramped down in a linear fashion from 100 all the way down to 70%, but 70% that was at the 8-minute mark. And by the time I picked up that flashlight, it was so hot I couldn't even hold it, and I kind of panicked and just switched the thing off, took out the battery, and the battery was a little bit hot as well. So that's why I think, with the 8 amps, perhaps it's just a bit too much, especially if you're using the 100% mode for too long. There are other options in the driver to select lower modes, so you can do that if you want. But for those of you a bit worried about the temperature regulation of this flashlight and just the current draw, there's also a 6 amp version. So I've heard a lot of people recommend that one just due to diminishing returns as you start ramping up that flashlight to 8 amps. Produces too much heat for little gain. But yeah, I got this one because I just wanted to squeeze all the juice out of that LED, make sure that it's that I get that 10% increase. So I'm not using usually that 100% mode for very long, maybe 30 seconds max, and then I'll step it down into another mode. I like the grip on this one a bit better. The design of the barrel looks nicer in this in the M2, but in terms of practicality, yeah, I just like that it has a bit more grippiness on it. The M2 does come with its own little pocket clip, but you're gonna have to buy one separately here as well. Again, I think tactical switches. I also think a tactical switch would be great on both these flashlights, and I've been looking at ways to put one in and see if it requires much work or much modification. Otherwise, I'm happy to just keep them the way that they are. But yeah, that's really it. Just a short video. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have questions, anything that you want to know about these lights, the LEDs, any other thoughts, just let me know in the comments. I know I can't really include everything, and I tend to make these videos a bit too long as well, so I'm trying to shorten them down. I've put the link to both of these flashlights in the video description. I don't get any commission from this either, so it's just I found that if you buy direct from the Convoy shop on AliExpress, you just get the best price, cheapest price compared to a few other places that resell them. If you found the video helpful, would appreciate if you click the like button and shared this around on forums or with your friends that might be interested. Just helps my videos get out to more people. And yeah, if you want to see me make more review videos on flashlights, make sure you click the subscribe button. This is the M2 on the left, M21B on the right. The M21B throws a little bit further, but not significantly. Probably another 100 meters or so. Let's try that tree there. You can see it. I do find the M2 does ramp down faster as well. Here are the beam profiles. Very similar. The reflectors are roughly the same size. Just a few more millimeters, about 4 more millimeters. The M21B. I do find the M21B takes a lot more time to ramp down as well. It gets pretty hot. In fact, at the moment it's becoming very difficult, getting difficult to hold on to it. And of course this is on the highest mode. Comparison test now. I've got the M2 to the left and the M21B to the right. M2 first. M21B. Throws further, the M21B. Just a little bit further, but not significantly. I mean, with the naked eye, you can barely tell the difference between the two. I do find that the M21B also takes a lot longer to ramp down compared to the M2. I can already see the M2 starting to ramp down, and this is where the M21B is throwing further. I can see that at the moment. Hotspot's brighter. You can tell that on these two trees. Well, this tree anyway there, and this one here. Hotspot on the right, which is the M21B, is brighter. And again, the M21B does get really hot, and to the point where it's almost unbearable to hold if you're using it on high or turbo. I mean, at the moment it's really almost at that point where I can't hold on to it any longer.